Hello indie game fan, the isometric action RPG space is heating up next year with some hotly anticipated titles getting release dates. We've included bigger non-indie titles as well, but let's begin with CyberCorp, a twin-stick looter shooter set in a cyberpunk world that looks pretty neat. You're able to upgrade your weapons and equipment, where you play as an agent fighting against street crime, but of course, conspiracy is afoot, and you have to find the truth, where it seems similar to The Ascent, but obviously doesn't look quite as good. A curiosity that got my attention is Lightedge, another fantasy title that adds a CRPG element to the action RPG. You're leading a party of characters around, where the AI does control the other characters for the most part, but you're able to take control as well, where the action and progression systems look decent and is one to watch. Another promising title in development is Carbon, a sci-fi entry that looks awesome, where the developers should be chugging along with development, with the latest update on YouTube being 4 months ago, but their website has not had an update since November 2021. Still, it looks pretty cool and does have a little bit of a Dead Space vibe, mixing in futuristic melee weapons, ranged combat as well as drones, being one to keep an eye on. There's a little bit of an update on Spark in the Dark, where its release window has been updated to 2023, so perhaps we will see this next year. It is a dark fantasy dungeon crawler where you explore the endless depths of a mysterious dungeon with good looking combat and impressive enemies, where it does give off a little bit of the oppressive atmosphere of Diablo 1 and is another title to watch. The developer has also put out demos and is collecting feedback to tweak and polish up the game before release, so fingers crossed this turns out well. Okay, so there might be some titles on this list which are not purely action RPGs, but these next few will qualify, where I was very excited when I learned of Coridden since it looks great. The main gimmick here is that you're able to transform into defeated enemies, as well as its focus on co-op and, interestingly, platforming as well, where another player can ride you into battle. There will be a leveling and progression system, although there is no indication on whether or not there will be loot in this game, but either way, it is promising and should be fun with friends.
Revenge of the Archlokvik is coming. Brand, my friend, you must gather your power. The dead mage has entered our lands with his armies. His wrath knows no bounds. But there is one thing that terrifies him. It's your Hugger.
A game which got a name change since we last took a look is Gimle, The Broken Prophecy, a Norse mythology title where you play as a warrior going up against a necromancer, where the fate of the world sits on your shoulders. First off, I love the look of this, where the slightly low-res look does remind me of Diablo 2, although perhaps it is not that retro of a look. The trailer ends off with a teaser of a mainstay of Norse mythology, but otherwise, you do seem to be primarily battling against skeletons, but I do wonder if the other aspects of Norse mythology will be brought into this, but from the look alone, this gets a spot. I'm also happy to share that Gatewalkers got a release date, and it is very soon indeed, where you will be able to play in less than a month, which is exciting news, since this has long been in development. Most interestingly, this has survival elements in addition to the ARPG combat, where you're gathering materials from both the environment and enemies. As such, it's a more modern style of ARPG, similar to games like V Rising, but does retain that classic fantasy theme. Actually, I'm not 100% sure on that, since the other gimmick here is that you play as Gatewalkers who are able to enter portals to other worlds which are procedurally generated, so you might stumble upon something crazy like a sci-fi world, for example. They also tease a Path of Exile style skill tree, looking to be of interest to fans of the genre. I'm very excited to share this one with you since Dreadhunter is an awesome looking action shooter RPG where you don a mech suit and play as a sci-fi monster hunter, blasting away through hordes of alien creatures. Yes, while it is ranged combat focused, it does look pretty sick, with awesome looking guns and the all-important loot, where it sure looks like Diablo with guns to me, which is a win in my books. Another game which you will get to play very soon is Superfuse, a superhero-themed action RPG where you're taking on an alien threat, where these are not your goody-two-shoes Marvel heroes, but ones that have no qualms about turning their enemies into a bloody mist. It has co-op support for up to 4 players, with visuals of course inspired by comic books, where you should go over to their Steam page to get a look at a very unique looking hexagon-based progression system in which you are slotting skills and abilities into, and should be one of the highlights of the year.
Among ancient ruins, evil grows once more. The seed of corruption advances, spreading dread and despair. We must give chase.
Of course, I have to mention the long-in-development Path of Exile 2, one that was announced way back in 2019, where the good news is that it should be at ExileCon in July next year, with a possible launch in late 2023. Where Grinding Gear Games is doing something pretty interesting with this, which I don't think has been done before.
These sands hide countless.
It is very ambitious, where they're making a whole new 7-act story campaign which is on par with the original, but curiously, both paths end up at the same endgame content, where I have to assume that that is because they don't want to split their user base. But to do this is interesting nonetheless.
If Rayclast is to survive.
It is set 20 years after the events of the first game, with new classes, a new skill gem system, equipment, enemies, and so much more, but there still remains a titan in the space. Alright, so technically, this last title is not like Diablo since it is Diablo, where Diablo 4 looks very good indeed, and by all accounts, early previews are very positive on the new direction this game is taking with the shared open world. I thought that they could have done something more interesting with character classes, but it looks so awesome, where after the debacle that was Diablo Immortal, I'm more than happy to see a return to form. You can watch this video for more action RPGs.